Is it me? Or does it seem like they use every opportunity to associate crypto with terrorism?
You said Hamas itself was the earliest terror organization to start adopting crypto. When did that happen?
That's correct. I mean, we saw fundraising around 2019 or so. Really started with Hamas using Telegram channels. It grew to ultimately putting solicitations on their websites. And we've seen it continue.
I can't believe that this is the story that CNBC is running with, and how they frame it.
The Israel-Hamas war putting a spotlight on cryptocurrency. The Wall Street Journal reported earlier this week that Hamas, Hezbollah, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad received large amounts of funding via crypto in the year that was leading up to last Saturday's attack on Israel. On Tuesday, Israeli police said that the country had frozen crypto accounts that were used to solicit donations for Hamas, with Binance assisting in the process. Joining us right now is our Ari Redbourn, who is the head of legal and government affairs at TRM Labs. That's an organization that helps other organizations track crypto-related financial crime. What do you know right now? What can you tell us about how much has been sent in financing to these terrorist organizations through crypto?
First, thank you so much for having me. I think it's important as we discuss sort of cryptocurrency and terror financing that it is a very small part of a much larger sort of terror financing puzzle that involves networks of hawalas and money exchangers and really state sponsors. But look, crypto does play a role. Hamas was an early adopter. Really, we saw in 2019, Hamas start to solicit donations in Bitcoin. In 2020, the U.S. Department of Justice actually seized a number of websites and about 150 cryptocurrency accounts associated with Hamas that Hamas was using to raise funds.
So even though they said this,
it is a very small part of a much larger sort of terror financing puzzle.
The whole story is about associating crypto with terrorism.
Hamas, Hezbollah, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad received large amounts of funding via crypto in the year that was leading up to last Saturday's attack on Israel.
Look, my friends, maybe you say this reporting is just neutral, maybe you say it's just information. I think they continue to try to show crypto in a negative light. I think they continue to try to conflate crypto with terrorism. They can't get away from this one simple fact, however. Crypto makes it easier to track criminals. Crypto is an open ledger that anyone can see. And even the CNBC host has to question this, has to get the guest to answer this, has to get the guest to admit this.
Yeah, that's what I would say. This is supposed to be something where the ledger tracks every single person. You would think in some ways it would eventually be easier to track down the criminals and the terrorists using that very ledger. What prohibits you from doing it?
Yeah, it's really well said. I was a federal prosecutor for a long time, as you mentioned, and I investigated cases involving networks of shell companies and hawalas and high-value art, right? There was no ability to trace and track those things on an open public ledger. And I think that's really what has allowed successful investigations and ultimately prosecutions in the cryptocurrency space. And I think we'll continue to see that here. You know, I think the paradox is crypto allows terrorist financiers and others to move larger amounts of funds faster cross-border than ever before. But at the same time, law enforcement using tools like TRM can now trace and track funds in real time, something that we never could do in financial crime investigations before. In 2021, there was violence in Israel and Gaza. We saw fundraising increase. We're likely to see that again here, but we're also likely to see a lot of successes because of the ability to track and trace funds on the blockchain. Just this week, Israeli authorities announced the seizure of cryptocurrency addresses associated with Hamas. Those are much longer, more complicated investigations if they're not on the blockchain. So I'd say I think there's a lot of ability of law enforcement and authorities to track and trace the flow of funds. Where, quite frankly, we lose visibility is the places we've always lost visibility, and that is off the blockchain. And I think we'll continue to have challenges there, to be sure. But I think we're going to continue to see Hamas and other organizations attempt to raise funds in crypto because they will attempt to raise funds in absolutely any way they can. But we're also going to see successes. And I can tell you that Israeli authorities, the U.S. government, our partners that we work with around the world are laser focused on this issue right now.
Look, Bitcoin and crypto is the future. Subscribers of our channel know this. Anyone with a brain can see this.
Bitcoin is an asset class. And that's a major revolution. if Fidelity and BlackRock and if 10 other ETF issuers all agree that Bitcoin is an asset class, right, it should be 10x to 100x bigger than it is right now.
Billionaire Paul Tudor Jones seems to get more bullish on Bitcoin every time he guests on CNBC. Great alpha from Paul Tudor Jones here. And then I love how the host asks him this almost as an afterthought and then watches as PTJ gets bullish.
I said I wanted to talk about Robinhood, but I also just looked on the screen behind you and I saw the price of Bitcoin. And I know every time we've spoken, you've had a take on Bitcoin. Do you have a new take? Still holding?
I think now the barbarous relics, and I would lump gold and Bitcoin together. I think they probably take on a larger percentage of your portfolio than historically they would, because we're going to go through both a challenging political time here in the United States, and we're going to go through, we've obviously got a geopolitical situation. So I would say...
But high interest rates were supposed to be the thing that was actually going to be unhelpful to Bitcoin.
Well, and I think on a relative basis, look what's happened to gold. It actually has been. Clearly, it suppressed it. So you know that more likely than not, we're going to go into recession. There's some pretty clear-cut recession trades. The easiest are the yield curve gets really steep. Term premium goes into the back ends of debt markets, right, into 30-year and 10-year and 7-year paper. The stock market typically right before a recession declines about 12%. That's probably going to happen at some point from some level. And you look at the big shorts in gold, more likely than not in a recession, the market's typically really long assets like Bitcoin and gold. So there's probably a $40 billion worth of buying that has to come in to gold at some point between now and if that recession actually occurs. So yeah, I like Bitcoin and I like gold right here.
Because the fact is, positive regulation is happening. California Governor Newsom greenlights crypto regulation bill for 2025. I think this is more positive than negative. I think this is good. Plus, bad actors continue to be flushed out of the space. Sam Bankman-Fried needs more Adderall to focus during the trial, says lawyers. Lawyers for the FTX founder have asked if he can take long-release ADHD medication as he's been unable to properly concentrate during his trial. Don't let stories like this fool you. They're trying to present Sam in a certain way, and I hope the judge and the jury don't fall for this. They're trying to present Sam in a certain way to get him a lighter sentence. Laura Shin actually had this same guy on her podcast. Here, I 100% agree with them.
Look, their strategy from day one, and really the only strategy they could have taken, is Sam is an idiot. He is unorganized. He's sloppy. He's careless. This is just Sam being Sam. This is not someone with criminal intent. That's the only thing they could have done. And really, there's only one way to kind of establish that. And I don't know if you just roll the dice and have him testify. I mean, look, conventional wisdom is you never have your client testify. I would probably be counseling him not to testify. But the reality is that, sometimes you throw a Hail Mary and maybe let's see how the next 2 weeks go. But that might be the Hail Mary that they need to throw to see if there's any way that he could charm or really sort of be a sympathetic figure for the jury. I think it's unlikely, but we'll see. Ultimately, that's up to him. One thing for folks to know as we approach that moment, whether or not it happens, is there's going to be a lot of discussion in court. The judge himself will actually admonish the defendant, explain to him what his constitutional rights are, that he has a right not to testify, and we'll go through all that, and you have to waive those rights. So a lot happens, and it'll be a really interesting moment, but maybe that's the Hail Mary they need to throw at this point.
Guys, the future is bright. Subscribe to Altcoin Daily. We show you this on a daily basis. I'm going to make a top altcoin video soon, so make sure you're subscribed for that. Turn on notifications. I'll see you tomorrow.